Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on when you're watching us. I am Manja, the thinking woman. And today we continue a conversation that started in my comment section in the previous video where I was talking about those who benefit from giving women an expiry date. And most people seemed to agree that women do actually have an expiry date. And the claim mostly was that the fertility of a woman declines or ends at 30, and that means from then she's expired. Other people argued that the woman has dated a lot of people in her 20s, and when she's showing up, that she's showing up with a lot of baggage and all these issues, and that also means that she has expired. So some people did argue that it is true that women do have an expiry date, and they said that expiry date is actually at 30 years. So I did something bold. I did the research. So I thought, as a thinking woman, let me just go online, look for evidence that can actually, so that I can actually see whether what they're saying is true. And maybe I should give a disclaimer. This is not my field. My field is in literature, but I am assuming even the people who are making that comment, it's not their field. And the information is available to everyone. It's easily understandable. Everyone can deduce the information and understand the conclusion that has been made in the studies. All the studies that I have quoted or I have referenced to in my very small research will be tagged in the description, and I'll give the links, and you can follow the links and go and see what it is that I found out. I have my laptop here because I came with notes because I did the research. So we start with the idea that a woman's fertility ends at 30. It does not end at 30, it starts to decline at 30. And according to a study by the American Society for Reproductive Health that was published in 2021, it will be attached in the description. A woman's fertility is at peak when they're in their teens and when they're in their 20s. And then when they get to their 30s, it starts to decline. Emphasis on starts to decline. And then now it continues to decline when she gets to mid 30s, continue to decline more as she gets to the late 30s, continue to decline even further when she's in her 40s, to an extent when now she's getting to menopause. It is now impossible for her to give birth at all. But one interesting thing that I found out is that it does not end as people purpose in the comment section. It's not that it's cut off totally, it starts to decline, and it is a slope. It is a sloping curve. So teens, 20s, and then you get to that, the curve starts to go down. Are we together? So it is a slope. That means at 30, 31, 35, 40, and then menopause, you cut off. So it's not a hard no, it starts to decline at 30. I did something more bold. I decided to look at male fertility because most of the commenters were male, and I thought, what about your fertility? And it was very interesting because we all know that women have a finite number of eggs. And when those eggs run out, you're done having babies. There are people who have double ovulation, so their eggs end up drying up faster, and they can have their menopause come earlier than 45. Others, their sorry, others their menopause comes later than 45. It's a whole thing. But for men, they have an infinite supply of semen. That means as long as that man is working, he can give you a baby. Until they drop dead, they can make a baby. But there was something interesting that I found out in my interrogation of this, that even for men, their reproductive value also declines, although they have a longer reproductive window. Are we together? And here I include a systematic review and meta-analysis that I will also include in the description, that shows that the quality of a sperm begins to decline after about 30 years. And some of the parameters that were used to judge these include the semen volume, the semen motility, the proportion of the sperm without DNA fragmentation, and other stuff that I did not understand. Those are the ones that I could easily understand. And that means that yes, men can have babies at any age, but reproductive aging also happens to men. Their fertility also starts to decline at a certain age. Are we together? There's also another study that I found to be very interesting. And this study was focusing on the paternal age and how that can affect reproductive outcomes when it comes to IVF. So let's say you have an egg from a very young donor and a sperm from a very old donor. Can that affect the outcome of the IVF? And the study found that to be true. And this is basically a conclusion or a wrap up of what I found out or what I concluded. The first is that female fertility declines with age. A hard yes, it's okay. We agree on that one. Fertility suddenly ends at 30. No, it starts to decline, a totally different thing. Fertility decline becomes more significant in mid and late 30s. True. Pregnancy becomes more difficult in your 40s. Yes. Men remain fertile longer than women. Unarguable. True. Male fertility is completely unaffected by age. No. Sperm quality changes with age, yes. Older paternal age is associated with some increased offspring risk, yes. Every woman over 35 will struggle to conceive, no. Even women over that, we have had people who have had multiple kids after 30. Every woman over 30 will have fertility problems, no. It alone determines whether someone can have a child, absolutely not. That leads now to my next argument or to my next thought. Age alone does not determine someone's value to an extent where you use someone's value to say that they have an expiry date. Whether it's a man, whether it is a woman. You cannot say that I have gotten to 30, my fertility has started to decline. That means I have expired. First, as a civilization, we have moved past the age where women were judged based solely on their ability to sire children. Where we are right now, we have women who are having one kid when they're 40, they are done. One child when they're 25, and they're like, I will never doing that again. Remove my tubes, I'm done. And we're having women who are saying, I will start having kids when I'm 35 and have this number of kids, and they're having those number of kids. Again, we're having women who are saying, I never want to have kids, and they don't have kids. So how can you judge someone's value off of something they do not even want to participate in? That is what drove me to make some comment and repeat some comments in the comment section in my previous video, because some things were just not adding up to me. The other narrative that women are showing up at 30 years expired just because they have dated a lot of men and they're showing up with a lot of baggage is very narrow minded, according to me. Because first, these women are dating men in their 20s. So if we are dating each other and we show up as 30 and we have been dating each other, if my value ends, even yours should end. Another thing, they're saying that women are showing up at 30 with a lot of baggage. I think baggage is not gender based. Everyone shows up and everyone can have baggage. Even the men can have baggage, the women can have baggage. That is not a parameter that we can reliably use to judge whether someone has expired. So my view still remains, and this was not even the point of my previous video. My previous video was simply saying who gets to rip off the narrative that these women are sold that they have an expiry date. Who knows that women are being told that they have an expiry date, they have internalized it since they were young, and it's taking advantage of that. That was the whole point of my video, but it spun off to something, a whole different thing on women fertility and all these things. But it's a good thing. I love the interaction. I love the engagement. I love the comments. I love the likes and all those things. It's an amazing thing to see that we are thinking about these things. And that's the whole idea of this channel, is for us to be able to bring conversations on the table and for me to share my views, for you to share your views, and we can all think through these things together. We can interrogate them and see whether the narrative that we've been told is true or whether there can be another truth or another angle that we can interrogate it from. So I do love the engagement. I again plead with you to kindly subscribe so that we can bring in more people into these conversations and we can bring in more thinkers and we can think bigger and we can think more together. Kindly subscribe, share, like, share your views, go through the journals, do your own research, and go out there and be a thinker. Asanteni sana. Until the next one. Ciao, ciao, ciao.